Welcome to the Unitarian Church of Los Alamos and our worship service for Sunday, July 17th, 2022. My name is Felicia Orth. I'm a worship associate for this congregation. Whoever you are, whomever you love, wherever you are on your life's journey, you are a welcome part of our community. Our minister, the Reverend John Cullinan, is out this week. Our guest this morning is Matt Pargeter-Villarreal, who will be speaking this morning on Adventures in Failing. Matthew is a Master's of Divinity graduate from Bright Divinity School with a concentration in sexual and gender justice. He is a candidate for ministry with the UUA and just completed a stint as intern minister at First Unitarian Church in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Welcome, Matt and Gabriel, and welcome all of you to our worship. Thank you for joining us. Our chalice lighting this morning comes from Reverend Lindsay Bates of Geneva, Illinois. To face the world's shadows, a chalice of light. To face the world's coldness, a chalice of warmth. To face the world's terrors, a chalice of courage. To face the world's turmoil, a chalice of peace. May its glow fill our hearts, our spirits, and our lives. If you would please join in body or spirit, stand up and sing hymn 346, Come Sing a Song With Me. You would please remain standing for our affirmation. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. Thus do we covenant with each and with all. Thank you. Please be seated. We have a sorrow to note this week. A candle has been lit for Teresa Call's, there you are, Teresa. Teresa Call's nephew, Nick Irwin, who passed away unexpectedly this week at the age of 38. We hold your family in our hearts, Teresa. Each of us has joys and sorrows written on our hearts that are not in that book. Please join me in prayer or reflection while we share a moment of silence.
Today, we share in a blessing for losers, risk takers, all failures far and wide. Blessed are they who fall in the mud, who jump with gusto and rip the pants, who skin the elbows and bruise the ego, for they shall know the sweetness of risk. Blessed are they who make giant mistakes, whose intentions are good, but impact has injured, who know the hot sense of regret and ask for mercy, for their hearts will know the gift of forgiveness. Blessed are they who have seen a D or an F or a C or anything less than perfect, who are painfully familiar with the red pen and the labels as less than, for they know the wisdom of the imperfect. Blessed are they who try again, who dust off, who wash up, who extend the wish for peace, who return to sites of failure, who are dogged in their pursuit, for they will discover the secret to dreams. Blessed are they who refuse to listen to the naysayers, for their hearts will be houses of hope. Blessed are they who see beyond the surface of another, for they will be able to delight in the gift of compassion. Blessed are they who stop running the race to help a fellow traveler, who pick up the fallen, who stop for injured life, for they shall know the kindness of strangers. Blessed are they who wildly, boldly abandon winning, for they shall know the path of justice. The Story of the Chinese Farmer by Alan Watts. Alan Watts was a philosopher who gave lectures at universities around the United States, and this is a story that he liked to tell. It is a very short story, but it is one of my favorites. Once upon a time, there was a Chinese farmer, and one day that Chinese farmer's horse ran away. That evening, all of his neighbors came around to commiserate, and they said, "We are so sorry to hear that your horse has run away. This is most unfortunate." The farmer said, "Maybe." The next day, the horse came back bringing 7 wild horses with it. And in the evening, everyone came back and said, "Oh, isn't that lucky? What a great turn of events. You now have 8 horses." The farmer again said, "Maybe." The following day, his son tried to break one of the horses, and while riding it, he was thrown and broke his leg. The neighbors then said, "Oh dear, that's too bad." The farmer again said, "Maybe." The next day, the conscription officers came around to conscript people into the army, and they rejected his son because he had a broken leg. Again, all of the neighbors came around and said, "Isn't that great?" Again, the farmer said, "Maybe." The whole process of nature is an integrated process of immense complexity. It's really impossible to tell whether anything that happens in it is good or bad, because you never know what will be the consequence of the misfortune, or you never know what will be the consequences of good fortune. Often we label our experience as bad if we hate it, and good if we like it. But the bad cannot exist without the good, and vice versa. Whatever happens in our life, we will never know the consequences it may bring in the future. May it be so. Blessed be. Failure is not an option. Most of us have probably heard those words before. It is a statement attributed to retired NASA flight director and manager Gene Kranz, who served as mission control and was instrumental in organizing the rescue efforts to safely bring back alive the members of the ill-fated Apollo 13 lunar mission in 1970. Kranz claims that he never uttered those immortal words. They were instead immortalized by Ed Harris in the 1995 movie Apollo 13 and have quickly entered popular culture. The words actually came from flight director Jerry Bostick when asked by Apollo 13 scriptwriters if there were ever any times when people in mission control ever panicked and did not know what to do. Bostick's reply was, quote, "No. When bad things happened, we just calmly laid out the options, and failure was not one of them." It is meant to convey the message that when there is so much at stake in a situation, a person needs to be rational and consider all the possible outcomes in order to be able to calmly choose which is the best choice for the situation at hand. Now, it's not in my nature to be cynical, and I'm aware that there are people who will always find a way to succeed despite their circumstances. But I cannot help but look at my life to this point forth and wonder with just the slightest bit of sarcasm that if failure is truly not an option, why is it that my life has been so very good at encountering it? But amid all of my colossal failures, I've managed to discover something unexpected and wonderful that has been a byproduct of failing. As much as we are all motivated by the prospect of success, and as much as we all want to succeed, failure, as unfortunate and uncomfortable as it is, can be almost as much of a catalyst to change the direction of one's life as it is success. It is in the moments of everything blowing up in our face that we are forced to tap into our creative potential and seek solutions about what to do next. And, as I have encountered through having to bounce back from so many failures, the direction that one's life can end up taking can be more beautiful and do more to prove the work of grace in one's life than we can possibly imagine. So, I invite you to join me for the next 10 to 15 minutes as we embark on a journey of getting smacked in the face and crashing all the way down to the depths of rock bottom. Spoiler alert, there's a happy ending at the end of it all. From a very early age, I was fed the same familiar formula for success from both of my parents. Work hard, go to school, get good grades, go to college, continue to get good grades, graduate college, and then go out into the world and find a good paying job that would help set me up for the rest of my future career and my future life. Unlike many others, I had the added pressure of being the only child to two parents that were living, breathing examples of success stories. My mom had gone on to earn a bachelor's degree in English and then a master's degree from Boston University and was working in public relations for the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and Lawrence General Hospital in Massachusetts. My dad was the classic story of the immigrant living the American dream. After earning his degree in engineering, he left the UK and moved to the US to start a family with my mom, and has been slowly climbing his way up the corporate ladder ever since. To my credit, by the time that I had graduated, I had done a lot to live up to the expectations of success that had been thrust upon me. My grades were excellent. I was graduating as an Oklahoma academic scholar. I had a wide range of extracurricular activities and varsity sports to my name, not to mention being very active in the Anglican church that I had grown up and attended. I even had managed to win a national championship in Quiz Bowl along the way. I was preparing to attend Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., my favorite city in the U.S. I had received a generous scholarship. I was going to double major in Spanish and secondary education. Everything was being set up and in place for me to live out the rest of my life, a life that was destined to achieve the success that I had been encouraged to pursue. When I arrived in DC, the reality soon became anything but that. I had moved 1,000 miles away from home to a school that was predominantly female, 88% Catholic, overwhelmingly conservative, and whose students came from about 4 states on the East Coast. To recap, I was male, Protestant, liberal, and coming from Texas. It became clear a few weeks after student orientation that I was an outsider with no chance of finding my way in. Extrovert that I am, this didn't stop me. I poured myself into my classes and attended social events, and I managed to acquire a group of a few friends along the way. I even signed up for the freshman retreat that was being held at a campsite in southwestern Maryland. I was determined to make the most of this opportunity and this situation that I had been given. It was the freshman retreat that would prove the most challenging moment of all. In the woods, for several days, in a spirit of introspection and encouraged to reflect upon myself, I was forced to confront feelings surrounding my sexual orientation that had been swirling beneath the surface since the summer after high school graduation. After several days of agony, I made the decision that if I was going to be true about the future of my life from here on out, I needed to be honest to myself and to everybody about who I was. So, officially 2 weeks into my first year of college, I made the decision to come out as being queer. I also made the difficult decision to come out to the close friends that I had made so far in college. Initially, I received lots of hugs and messages of love and support. This doesn't change anything, they told me. We still love and support you for who you are. I left the retreat feeling dramatically changed, but also hopeful about how the rest of the year was going to go. When we got back to DC, it became clear that everything had, in fact, changed. As the months went on, the more and more comfortable I became with myself and my sexual orientation, the less that the friends that I had confined in became comfortable with me, and slowly began to distance themselves from associating with me. I had come out in September of the fall semester. By March of the spring semester, I had no friends left. No matter, I told myself, I didn't need anyone. I can take care of my emotional support needs myself, not realizing that I was not in any fit emotional state to be able to do this. I slowly began to downward spiral. Frustration at my situation led to depression. Depression led to being overwhelmed and tired and wishing that all of these negative feelings would stop, which led to my first experience with rock bottom. At the time, I was taking a science class entitled Chemistry for Non-Chemistry Majors. We were talking about over-the-counter drugs like aspirin and acetaminophen, and the professor, for mere trivia's sake, mentioned about how many tablets would constitute a lethal dose of Tylenol. I went back to my dorm room after the class to the bottle of Tylenol Extra Strength I had in my bedroom, counted out that many tablets, put them into a container, and put the container in the corner of my desk drawer with the logic that if things ever got to be too much to handle, that this was my way out. I never did use them as my way out. A few weeks later, while I was lying down in my dorm room from what was probably more clinical depression than the headache that I claimed it was, I heard a voice as clear as day in my ear that said, and I quote, "What the F are you doing? Get off your ass and get to the counseling center because you need help and you need it now." End quote. To this day, I cannot explain the origin of that voice. I like to tell the story that this is when I know God spoke to me, but apparently the divine swears like a sailor, if that is the case. Either way, it had its intended effect. I did get up and walked up the hill through the rain to the counseling center. And by the time I arrived, any thoughts of self-harm had been erased from my mind, but they still made me sit down with one of the counselors and fill out paperwork. For those of you that have never had to fill out outpatient paperwork for suicidal ideation, it is 3 pages of asking questions such as, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love yourself? And what are the factors that would prohibit you from carrying through with your plan? It wasn't until I got halfway through the second page that I realized that this was no longer simply me not handling things well. This was my health that was in jeopardy. It was the wake-up call that I needed in order to make a change. I made the grueling decision to finish out the year and then moved back to San Antonio. I imagine at this point that there are probably some of you listening to my story and thinking to yourselves, oh, but you didn't really fail. Things just didn't go the way that you wanted them to. And in hindsight, you would be right. But at that point in my life, I couldn't hide the fact that I felt like a failure. Success, to me, has always been presented in this package of once you go to college, you were supposed to continue on an upward trajectory without any interruptions along the way until your end goal of success is achieved. For me, I had taken a complete detour. My future at my dream university had completely blown up in my face. My chance at life in my favorite city had come crashing down. I had moved out on my own and was independent from my parents. Now I was moving back into my old house and my old bedroom with my tail between my legs. And to top it all off, I was starting over again as a completely different person that I didn't completely know or could name yet as myself. Failure had become more than an option. It was the new reality that I was now facing. I did promise you a happy ending, and as it turned out, moving back to San Antonio was exactly what I needed. In fact, my move back to Texas was the furthest thing from being a failure. It was the success that I needed in disguise. Being closer to family helped me succeed in feeling loved, which helped me succeed in learning to love myself again. I got to start over in a brand new school environment, but this time I got to be completely open and honest about who I was, and I succeeded in finding fellow classmates and friends who truly embraced and accepted me for it. I even got to be honest about my future. I changed my second major from secondary education to international studies because, while I have all the respect in the world for teachers and the work that they do, I discovered that it wasn't for me. Once I made that choice, I found success in a degree plan that I was happy about, one that made me excited to go to school and pour myself into my studies. I was also successful in growing up a little. I got to date and eventually lucked out and achieved the greatest success of all, finding the person of my dreams who loved me for me, failures and all. And we were together when we were able to successfully realize a dream of both of ours, being able to get married both in the eyes of God and in the world. Now, that's not to say that the road from then until now did not have its share of failures along the way. There were struggles with alcohol that I had to overcome that cost me a career as a paralegal, a failure that I'm not proud about and I'm still learning to talk about to this day. But even during that failure, I not only overcame the circumstances and found my way into recovery, but it led me down a completely different road to successfully finding the career that I am now on that gives me the most purpose, being a minister. If anything, my constant string of failures has taught me that if you are going to have any chance at success, you need to redefine what success is and what it looks like. For so many years, I operated under the expectation of what others thought my success should look like, and I struggled to mold myself to that. But success only comes when you personalize it, make it your own, and when you do so in spite of all your circumstances. I also learned that the things that we see as failure and the things that we have been taught to view as failure or not living up to our true potential are often golden opportunities to find the success that we desperately crave, if only we're willing to lean into them and see them for the possibilities that they are. So, as uncomfortable as failure may be, I know that it will be there. And every time that it comes up, I will curse and whine and get discouraged. But once all of that is out of my system, I will grit my teeth and dust myself off and find a way to keep moving forward. I look at it like this. It is through all the failures that I've had so far which have led me being here before you and bearing my soul. If that is the result of failure, then I cannot wait to see what else the future has in store for me through my own adventures in failing. What about you, friends? What could be possible for you if you stopped seeing failure as the end of the world? What if instead it was the possibility that you had never expected to cross your path? These questions are not for me to answer for you. I can only echo the words of philosopher Simone Weil. For if we do not lose courage, if we go on walking, it is absolutely certain that we will finally arrive at the center of the labyrinth. And there, God is waiting. May it ever continue to be so. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Thank you all very much for this time we have shared together.
Thank you, Matt. Next week, Tina DeYoe, our Director of Lifespan Religious Education, is in the pulpit with an exploration of faith forged in fire and flow. I'm Felicia, so I'm going to love that one. We love seeing you in the sanctuary again. For those joining us Sunday morning here at the church, we are still following COVID-safe practices, as you can see, vaxxed, and once again, with the recent surge in Los Alamos, masked. If you're coming to us for the first time through video, I invite you to sign our online guest book, connect with us on our website and our Facebook page. If you have questions about the church, you can email the minister, Reverend John Cullinan, Links to the guest book and other online connections are listed in the service notes below this video. And if you haven't already done so, please sign up for email announcements for opportunities to connect on Sunday and during the week. All offering funds for the month of July are accepted on behalf of Los Alamos Family Council, a local nonprofit that promotes emotional and social well-being through education, prevention, and counseling. Los Alamos Family Council currently runs 2 programs in the community. They have a counseling center to provide counseling for adults, adolescents, and children, and they run 2 youth activity centers, one in Los Alamos and one in White Rock, to provide a safe environment and develop resiliency in youth grades 3 through 8 after school and when school is on vacation. You can use the Givelify app on your mobile device, the link in the service notes. We also have a box at the back of the sanctuary, and I will walk around with a few baskets. Again, all offering goes to Los Alamos Family Council. May what you give bring you joy and a greater sense of connection to our wider world.
reminded that we are part and participants of the universe, let us go forth from the quiet of this hour, encouraged to strive toward faithfulness to the best in ourselves, in others, and in the whole creation. Our service has ended, but my friends, your service has just begun. Go in peace, go in joy, and go in love. Blessed be.